Canadians have actually said we're more interested this year in supporting than even last year, which is an indication to Canadian businesses that the Canadian consumer is there for them and really wanting to support. That's really the opportunity that sits in front of Canadian small businesses and Canadian medium enterprises, is that those clientele could be repeat business clients.
In 2026, positioning a local brand to lock down shifting summer consumer revenue requires dropping legacy commercial frameworks to scale digital payment options, optimize hybrid local marketing funnels.
Thinking about their margins, thinking about their inventory, making really critical decisions when they think about what is my consumer going to buy, so that I can make inventory decisions and maybe staffing decisions.
Hi everyone, this is Maheen and welcome to the CanadianSME Small Business Podcast. Today we're breaking down the data-driven execution of consumer distribution strategy, remote advice delivery modeling, and omni-channel marketplace optimization for small business banking. In 2026, positioning a local brand to lock down shifting summer consumer revenue, insulate cash flow metrics from macro cost constraints, and maximize the influx of intra-provincial tourism requires dropping legacy commercial frameworks to scale digital payment options, optimize hybrid local marketing funnels, and realign inventory with domestic first consumer habits. Joining us is Andrew Braun, Associate VP of Remote Channels and Distribution Strategy for Small Business Banking at TD Bank Group. Andrew is a stellar corporate banking veteran with more than 25 years of leadership experience across branch banking, credit policy, risk strategy, and product management, guiding high-impact teams to position TD as the absolute commercial bank of choice across Canada. There's lots that we need to unpack and uncover, so without further ado, let's dive in and welcome Andrew. Andrew, it's a pleasure having you on the show with us this afternoon. Welcome to the podcast. How are you?
I am well. Thank you for having me. It's so great to be here.
Very pleased to have you with us. Now, Andrew, I did mention quite a lot of things in my intro. It was a very heavy worded intro. We'd love to kind of break it down piece by piece for our listeners to simplify as much as possible. Let's open our discussion by understanding the massive rise of the Buy Canadian market. Many marketplace commentators, they assume that summer spending habits remain completely rigid year over year, totally overlooking the fact that inflation pressures have fundamentally rewritten how intentional Canadians are being with their vacation dollars. Tell us, why are Canadians increasingly focused on supporting local businesses this summer, and how is it showing in their habits, in their daily habits?
Well, thank you, Maheen. When we think about the Buy Canadian trend, we've been watching this trend for the last 18 months or so, and we're really seeing it grow. But what we're really also seeing is it mature, and you can see it as definitely an intent by Canadians to buy local, to be present in their communities and think about their impact to their communities. And so it's a great thing that we're seeing. 8 in 10 Canadians, for example, say that they are wanting to support local Canadian small businesses this summer. And then within that, last year I talked to, there was that tariff and all these elements that started the trend. But what's interesting is that Canadians have actually said we're more interested. Almost half are saying we're more interested this year in supporting than even last year. Which is an indication to Canadian businesses that the Canadian consumer is there for them and really wanting to support. But the other element that is driving that is really it is budgetary pressures for Canadian consumers, and Canadian consumers are feeling that rising costs, and they're making intentional decisions, and they certainly want to think about and they want to demonstrate Canadian pride. But at the same time, they're making sort of budgetary considerations. So take travel. You mentioned travel. And they're more likely to stay in Canada and travel, and even more likely to stay within their own province and travel than they were in previous years. And that's really to make that budget stretch.
Absolutely. No, that beautifully connects macroeconomic changes directly to neighborhood retail velocity because seeing that nearly 80%, as you mentioned, of consumers are prioritizing domestic brands, it tells us a lot. It tells us that local alignment is no longer just a nice marketing phrase. It is a core revenue driver. Now, Andrew, let's look at how these financial pressures are specifically changing the map for summer tourism across our provinces. What opportunities does the rise in domestic and intra-provincial travel create for regional brands?
Well, I think it creates a lot of opportunities. One important opportunity to think about for interprovincial brands or just businesses across the country is that the Canadians will be out in their market more often. They're there to visit a fair or a festival. They might be there just spending the weekend and taking an extra long weekend in their local market. And that's really an opportunity for those brands to, tell their story, to create experiences that Canadians resonate with, and that bring in those Canadian consumers for an experience that they may come to once, but they also could come back to. That's really the opportunity that sits in front of Canadian small businesses. The great thing about the trend is that you start to see the opportunity for not only the loyalty, like I just outlined, but also that word of mouth and brand ability, right? And that comes from Canadians resonating and picking up the story of the business and really feeling that is represents their values and also represents a great experience that they want to share with maybe their family or their neighbors as they get back from their trip.
That is a great insight. That perspective itself, it really opens up massive doors for regional growth, especially when you realize that keeping tourism dollars inside the provincial boundary, it gives independent boutiques and local dining spots an incredibly reliable wave of summer traffic. Now, Andrew, let's explore the tactical steps that our small business operators need now to to prepare for this wave of consumer demand. How should entrepreneurs adapt their offerings and marketing to capture local tourist traffic?
Well, I think some things, Maheen, that our entrepreneurs want to think about is how to make it easy
Mm.
for our Canadian consumers to find them, to understand their story, to connect that to something that might be interesting in the area that they're in, or even how it relates back to how they give back to their community.
Mm.
Because Canadians really want to feel that they are supporting both a local business that is maybe an interesting experience for them, but also that helps in their local communities. And so as you think about that, it's just finding ways for entrepreneurs to really tell that story concisely, to find additional ways to attract business. And then, like I said earlier, after the fact that they leave saying with the word of mouth that might, whether that word of mouth might not be just literally physically word of mouth, it might be online posting or any other sort of reviews, but that really accelerates their brand in that market, and then kind of creates some momentum for that business in terms of repeat business and additional business.
That is an incredibly important blueprint for our listeners because streamlining your digital touchpoints and meeting traveling consumers right where they search online ensures that you don't miss out on high intent regional buyers. To all the business owners that are listening, leaving your remote payment options or local digital marketing strategies unoptimized during a high stakes domestic summer wave is an immense operational blind spot. In 2026, guided by the distribution experts at TD Bank Group, businesses are discovering that modern remote advisory tools can seamlessly match shifting consumer habits. Maximize your summer transaction speeds and secure your regional cash flow architecture today. Now we'll take a quick break. Don't go anywhere. When we return, we'll dive into how the next generation Gen Z consumers are reshaping local retail and what businesses can do to capture their attention.
Hey, you think you know UPS? Yeah, that's us. Everybody knows that. You know what you didn't know? This. Okay, try to keep up. Ocean, us. Ground, rail, air, so us. Guess who? Us. Customs cleared, borders cleared, done. Us. Still with me? Wait for it. Boom. Us. Intelligent, automated, fulfillment. Us. Yep. Healthcare too. Digital your thing? Yeah. Well, book it, ship it, track it. You feeling me yet? Yep. That's all us. That's all UPS.
Welcome back, everyone. Let's explore how independent stores can engage Gen Z shoppers and turn their energy into loyalty and long-term revenue for local brands. Now, Andrew, let's talk about a highly energetic consumer demographic that is actively leading the charge for community commerce this quarter. How can independent stores engage Gen Z consumers to win their loyalty for local brands?
It's another great question. And so as we think about Gen Z, they're really, I talked about storytelling for businesses earlier, but that's really where it is really important when we think about Gen Z is businesses, one, telling their story, two, being able to be easy to find. But most importantly is that Gen Z is most likely going to find you in a different way than maybe other demographics will. And so being very visibly present online, thinking about ways that you can extend your reach digitally and in other ways of capturing that market is getting a clientele that is very interested in understanding before they get there what the experience is going to be and what they're going to walk away with and what they're going to be telling their friends about.
Right. Well, that hits the nail right on the head for next generation marketing because modern younger buyers, they're actively seeking out authentic values and unique narrative driven products rather than just looking at the price tag. So thank you for highlighting that, Andrew. Now let's tackle the difficult internal operations and address the balancing act that business owners face when managing their own overhead costs against this surge in sales. Andrew, what strategies help small business owners manage rising operational costs while meeting the summer's consumer demand?
So when you think about the consumer demand, obviously the story is that twofold story of Canadians wanting to support their local businesses even more than last year, but also being faced with budgetary pressures. And so as entrepreneurs think about that, they really want to think about how they plan for that. They think about their own experience within their own business. They're feeling very similar to that Canadian consumer. They're feeling rising prices and different costs that are going into their business. And so really what they want to do is focus on planning before so they know what they are considering and being ready for, thinking about their margins, thinking about their inventory, making really critical decisions when they think about what is my consumer going to buy so that I can make inventory decisions and maybe staffing decisions. And also thinking about whether if it's an experience, maybe it's a bundle or different ways that you can entice a consumer to make a decision for your business because they are making trade-off decisions between your business and another business, most likely. And so it's really how do I ensure that I think about that as well as how do I think about my operations to ensure I know that I'm making sustainable decisions that is repeatable for my business and it's profitable.
That completely demystifies cash flow management during peak seasons because leveraging flexible banking tools and relying on expert credit strategies is exactly how we will, really, or how you will fund your inventory expansion safely without choking your profit margins. Those were some great recommendations and pieces of information, and you're really, we're very happy and pleased for you to join us and to share all that in such a short amount of time as well. But as we wrap up, what is your top advice for small businesses to optimize distribution and really navigate this economic summer successfully?
Well, I'd say first lean into Canadian pride. Canadians are proud. They want to support their local communities. They want to support their local businesses. And so lean into that. But then to your point just a moment ago, really do it thoughtfully so that you're both protecting, your bottom line, you're creating sustainable value, or you're thinking about loyalty when you deliver either a product, service, or an experience. And when you kind of put those things together, you can create a model for repeat sustainable business. And that's what's really, really important for businesses to think about is this isn't just for today. It is to take Canadian pride plus that practicality that Canadians are also going to be thinking about and leveraging it for the future to ensure you have repeat customers and word of mouth and additional customers from those experiences.
That is an exceptional reminder, Andrew, that true business resilience, it relies on matching your remote sales setups with actual localized travel trends, building authentic connections with conscious consumers, and really protecting your operating structures before peak demand hits. Thank you so much for joining us and for sharing such great expertise and insights.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
And that was Andrew Braun from TD Bank Group showing us how to capitalize on Canada's domestic summer travel trends, leverage remote channel strategies to meet conscious consumer demands, and secure small business margins in 2026. Thank you so much for tuning into the podcast. Please be sure to subscribe and visit CanadianSME.ca for more resources. And to learn more about how we are supporting the ecosystem, please visit Canadian SME Small Business Foundation at smbfoundation.ca. A special shout out to our partners, UPS and ADP, for their ongoing commitment to empowering small businesses across Canada. Join us next week as we explore our next critical business topic. Until next time, please keep innovating and keep growing.